You are the Matrix. This is simply a better version of yourself.
The movie begins by showing an egg yolk being injected with a mysterious green liquid. The yolk then divides itself and creates a duplicate. The scene abruptly jumps to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, setting up the star of celebrity Elizabeth Sparkle. She is supposed to be the most sought-after star of her time, but as the years roll away, her brilliance fades away, and soon enough, she is just a blurred memory in people's minds. However, Elizabeth has refused to give up since she hosts a TV aerobic show called Sparkle It Up. One day after her show, everyone congratulates her on her birthday, and then uncannily she can't use the women's room. She enters the men's room and hides when she hears someone coming.
The next few weeks, we need her young. We need her now. Find me somebody new. Now.
Elizabeth overhears the network's president, Harvey. After Harvey leaves, Elizabeth spontaneously checks her reflection in the mirror and sees nothing but wrinkles and lines. She later has lunch with Harvey, who gluttonously stuffing himself with shrimp. He manipulates her that the show is going through a revamp, but Elizabeth already knows that she's being tossed out like trash.
I mean, that's just the way it is. I have to give people what they want. And at 50, it stops.
What stops?
Oh, George! Those ratings are insane! Oh, what a mess. You're a genius.
While driving home, an estranged Elizabeth becomes alarmed at seeing her billboard being taken down, causing her to get distracted and get into a serious car accident. Although luckily Elizabeth was unscratched, emotionally, she is completely torn. Later, when Elizabeth checks its pocket, she finds a strange flash drive labeled The Substance. It also has a note and phone number attached to it, promising real changes. On her way out, Elizabeth is met by a man named Fred, who remembers her all the way back from high school. He tells her she is still the most beautiful woman in the world, and he gives her his number. However, Elizabeth tries to lay him off since the man appears too clingy. Later, her worst nightmare comes true when she is officially fired from her show. Back at home, Elizabeth is compelled to watch the contents of the flash drive, which advertises something called The Substance.
Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? One single injection unlocks your DNA. You are the Matrix. Everything comes from you. A perfect balance of 7 days each.
However, she would revert to her original state the following week, repeating this cycle continuously. Even with two versions of herself, she would never lose her original personality. She couldn't help recalling her glorious days in despair. Feeling lonely and longing for her prime days, she digs into the trash to retrieve the flash drive. She calls the number, is simply given an address, and is told to give hers. The next morning, she goes through the newspaper and bumps across an advertisement given to find her replacement in that aerobic show. The ad specified that they were only accepting a candidate aged between 18 and 30. Elizabeth crumples the newspaper in sheer frustration. Elizabeth receives an envelope bearing the symbol of The Substance. It had an ID card, 503, and an address. Elizabeth goes to the address, which is down a shady alley in a secret building through a locked door. She finds a deposit box with her number and opens it to find her required parcel. She returns home and opens the parcel to find an instruction manual, an activator, a stabilizer, the agent of change, and the necessary green liquid. Next, she stares at her reflection to scrutinize every inch and line of her body. She skeptically injects herself with the green fluid from earlier. At first, nothing happens, and Elizabeth chuckles knowingly. But then, out of sheer dizziness, Elizabeth falls to the floor in pain, while a giant slit opens up in her back. A younger, beautiful woman emerges from Elizabeth's back. The younger Elizabeth looks at the stunning version of herself in the mirror. She observes her new curves and her morning dew skin. Once the stitches are done, she directly injects the substance into her vein and Elizabeth's body to keep herself balanced. Also, her voice was changed, and by hearing that voice, she gets a nosebleed. She quickly uses a stabilizer. The young Elizabeth quickly finds that advertisement and heads towards the studio after picking up a revealing, sultry outfit. Now the judges at the studio have seen countless women, but none met their beauty standards. However, they are speechless when they witness the fresh and curvy young woman who calls herself Sue and quickly earns a spot at Elizabeth's old network.
Where is she? What a gorgeous little angel. We want a show that's just like you. I'm gonna let you organize everything else with Cindy.
I have to be out of town every other week.
Gorgeous. with a pure heart. People are gonna love that.
Sue enjoys the newfound attention she is getting and lives her first week with high energy. But she doesn't forget to get her daily doses of stabilizers and enjoys many photo shoots she hasn't received for so many years. Soon, when the week is over and even the last drop of the Matrix is finished, she connects the IVs with her old body to allow the blood transfusion. Soon she returns to being the old, boring Elizabeth as her life remains unremarkable and dull. Soon she heads off to Harvey's studio to pick up her belongings. Harvey appears dumping a box of belongings in her arms, along with a farewell gift the staff has bought for her. Elizabeth impatiently waits for Sue to get revived. Soon she receives mail that the refill kit for the substance has been delivered to her deposit box. Meanwhile, Sue finds some space between the walls and decides to bury Elizabeth's body in that space. The noise causes an irritated neighbor to complain.
Sue.
I think it's like awesome when there's stuff going on in the building, you know what I mean? Need me to be of aid in any way. I got a sack of tools and I live right here, so you know where to find me. Anytime. Later.
When she returns to being Sue, she has her new fitness show picked up full-time. Her youth and brilliance captivate everyone. Everyone along with Harvey marveled at her charisma. Soon Sue goes for a night out with her castmates before her reign ends that week. She brings home a guy named Troy to enjoy, but she starts to become dizzy and gets a nosebleed because her time has run out. However, she wants a little time for herself, so Sue takes another capsule to stabilize herself. Even though her turn is over, Sue recycles a stabilizer tube and extracts more fluid from Elizabeth's body so she can spend the night with Troy. However, when Troy unzips her tight suit, Sue's insides begin to spill out, followed by a choked scream from Elizabeth, who rises alongside her younger version. When Elizabeth wakes up, she notices the chaotic condition of her house and the note stuck on the window by Troy. She is horrified to find that the extra time spent with Sue has caused her right hand to look older and sickly. She rushes to the bathroom to find that her whole body has this rotten and withered look.
Yes.
Yes, hi. This is Elizabeth Sparkle. There's been a slight misuse of the substance.
What has been used on one side is lost on the other side. There is no going back. Remember, there is no she and you. You are one. Respect the balance.
Soon she receives a message that her refill kit has arrived. When she goes to the shady alley to retrieve the parcel, inside the deposit room she hears strange noises that petrify her for a moment. Elizabeth finds Fred's number and decides to take him up on his offer to go to dinner. He excitedly accepts and makes a reservation. That night, Elizabeth puts on her foxiest dress, and when she is set to head out the door after getting ready, she gets distracted by seeing the billboard for Sue's show staring at her outside her window. Elizabeth keeps going to the bathroom, removing or reapplying makeup until she realizes that her golden days have gone. She just becomes so bitter and frustrated that she keeps on ignoring Fred's messages, who tries to reach her out in vain. Finally, she bails on the date without contacting Fred again. Soon it is Sue's turn again, and during a taping of Sue's show, she does a bad take because she felt something bulging against her backside. Even the director thinks he saw something odd while taking a close-up of her body and calls for a retake. Sue bolts out of the room, covering herself, and then manages to pull out a huge chicken leg from her backside. Infuriated, Sue calls the same helpline to complain about Elizabeth's questionable eating habits that are destroying her slim figure.
This balance is not working! I barely have any time to enjoy myself.
No she and you. You are.
Oh! What's happening? Where is everybody?
The taping's been canceled.
Harvey wants to see you in his office immediately.
I'll get right to the point. We can't keep you on the morning show. They adore you! They want more and more and more of you. Biggest show, 50 million viewers, live. You can't go higher than that.
From that moment on, Sue starts taking the substance daily, altering the weekly schedule to ensure she has control during the New Year's week. However, side effects begin to show up on Elizabeth as a disgusting boil appears on her back. When Elizabeth wakes up, she screams upon discovering that almost half of her body has become rotten. As usual, she hysterically calls upon the operator to complain about how irresponsibly Sue is behaving as she is stealing more time than she should from the Matrix. The operator gives her a choice if she wants to end the whole situation, as she has the power to stop the whole process. But he warns her that the damage done won't be reversed, but she can always stop from getting worse. Despite the warning, Elizabeth refuses to go back to her miserable life and begins to feel psychotic effects on her mind. Elizabeth cooks innumerable dishes, calling Sue her cheap imitation. Elizabeth's ears prick up when the talk show host hits the last question about Sue's glowing beauty secret.
I'm being told that you are going to host the New Year's Eve show. Can you confirm this? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How did you get discovered?
Very small town in Indiana. I'm sure that you've never heard of it. It has always been my dream to be on screen.
This is...
You replaced Elizabeth Sparkle. And you rocked their world.
But my mother was a huge fan of hers. So in a way, I grew up with her. Whether I liked it or not.
She slams the TV and locks the window so that she doesn't have to see that dimwit siren. Elizabeth knows the whole situation, but is unable to control it as she maniacally talks to herself, cursing Sue. When Sue returns, she is disgusted by the mess Elizabeth has made, and in retaliation for Elizabeth's disgusting habits, Sue ends up spending more and more fluid from the Matrix in order to avoid going back. 3 months later, the New Year's program is about to take place. Sue is all geared up for the moment that will eventually lead her to stardom. The night before her big break, she goes into the bathroom looking for more stabilizers, but all she finds is a rotten substance in the capsule threatening to ruin all her plans. In a frenzy, she tries to contact the supplier for some more stabilizers, however. To get more, she would have to wait for the liquid to regenerate. Sue battles against the excruciating pain and nosebleeds. She notices a wound that starts to look like an infected sore. She is told that the only way to save herself is to swap with Elizabeth. She tries to gather the things she needs, but instead swipes off the stuff, creating a clattering noise. Now this alerts her boyfriend in another room. The curious man comes in for an investigation, but luckily he doesn't come across the hideous and rotten figure stumbling in the bathroom. Elizabeth decides to terminate the substance and makes a call to the supplier, but he responds that they will deliver only what is needed as soon as possible. Elizabeth desperately covers herself with whatever rags she can grab and hits the shady alley. She grabs the parcel and quickly returns to the safety of her apartment. Just as she was about to plunge it into Sue's chest, the man's voice echoes in her mind whether she really wants to do this. He warns her that this will not reverse her effects, but will let her continue to live the rest of her life as she is. She suddenly spots a bouquet with a motivational note and other messages received for her upcoming debut. Then she recalls her own glorious days when she was always in the spotlight. Suddenly, a wave of remorse crosses her heart for taking away the chance. She immediately stops short and doesn't inject the whole substance into Sue's body. Elizabeth tries to wake Sue up. However, despite Elizabeth's hysterical pleas, Sue's nose begins to bleed continuously. Sue wakes up abruptly, spitting blood. Both are bewildered to see each other, as they had never been conscious at the same time. Sue then goes to the network to get ready for the New Year's Eve special. Everyone is admiring her ethereal beauty, but something is not right since Sue is also getting affected because of the death of her matrix, Elizabeth. The side effects forced her to rush to the bathroom. Unfortunately, her body starts to literally fall apart, with 3 of her front teeth falling out, her fingernails coming off, and her left ear sliding off. As she desperately comes out of the bathroom trying to avoid people, a Mary Harvey arrives with a group of investors, but Sue smiles forcefully with pursed lips. Sue runs back home in a dizzy state, desperate to fix things, and then finds the vial of the activator fluid and plunges the syringe into her body. But it was only designed for one-time usage. Thinking it will create another young body, it instead gives birth to an utterly disgusting creature, almost like a hideous brain-like crumpled monster. The monstrous Sue goes back to the studio with Elizabeth's face from a poster taped to it and fitting into Sue's dress. Now the people were waiting for the iconic debut of the beautiful aerobic girl Sue. Instead, a hideous monster approaches the stage, alarming everyone. Firstly, the face falls off and reveals its hideous visage to the audience, even some children. An infuriated Harvey attacks the monster and blows its head off with a mic stand, but the head regenerates. Its arm falls off and sprays the audience, covering the entire room in nothing but red goo. In a desperate attempt, the monster manages to leave the studio until it collapses and splatters into nothing. Emerging from it is a fleshy mass with Elizabeth's original face attached. She slowly creeps towards her Walk of Fame star, looking up with joy and imagining sparkles raining down on her as she is still hungry for fame, glory, and attention. Elizabeth flashes a final smile before she dissolves into a puddle of goo. In the morning, a floor scrubber washes away the puddle, leaving no trace of Elizabeth behind, indicating that every glory comes to an end.